Hi, I am back. So I wanted to give a more candid, in-depth, this is what it's like after one of these vendor fairs. So if you're a crafter, hi, I'm Evie. I had a 2-day festival and I made, I don't know how much yet, but I card swipes and cash. I have $800, which is really good. It's my first year doing it, and I had about $2,000 worth of inventory. So I'll give you the full breakdown in a video tomorrow, but I wanted to get on real fast and talk about the emotions of it while it's still really raw. So it is Saturday, day 2. I drove home and I am exhausted. I just am going to drink this juice out of this thing and that's going to be it. I have a rule, and if it's like warm enough or mild enough, I leave everything in the car and I'll deal with it tomorrow. I lock it up. And I do that because I'm already so dog tired and I hate loading something up, taking it out, loading it again, and then taking it out. And that's what it feels like. So I try to only load and unload once. So I'm gonna wait, and that's totally fine. And I'll inventory tomorrow. But for right now, I drove an hour and a half there, an hour and a half back, and luckily I had a friend who reached out that said that I could stay with her and her husband, so that I didn't have to do that 3 hours every day, which is what I planned on doing, and I will never plan on doing that again because I can't. The drive home today was such a slog, and I can't imagine doing that yesterday, waking up, driving all the way up there, and then driving back. So that's what I learned. So some of the feelings I have during craft shows are kind of roller coastery, and a lot of crafters have some form of ADHD or anxiety or neurospicy. So I'm gonna tell you, and this is not a knock on the folks that set it up. It's not a knock on the actual show. It's not a knock on any of that. This is just how my brain does the things and like processes. So yesterday I didn't have my first sale until an hour and 45 minutes into the show. And that was hard. And today I didn't have my first sale until 2.5 hours into the show, which doesn't mean anything. Doesn't like logically, I know that I could have 10 sales in the last hour. Like I know that. I've done this enough. And it still didn't stop me from thinking about how badly I sucked, how everyone around me was doing amazing and I wasn't, how it was a me problem, how maybe I was priced too high, or maybe like this wasn't the clientele, or maybe I'm not even a good yarn dyer. Like maybe I don't have an eye for color like I think I do, or maybe I don't have the talent that I think I do. I was like gaslighting myself. So that was a real thing that happened. And then once I made my first sale, I was so excited, and I thought it was going to be my last of the day. So I was like, okay, well, this person bought a kit for $60 and that's going to be it. Like, I'm not going to get any more sales. And that's hard. And I also thought, so I had $2,600 of inventory at like retail price. And so I thought, based on a couple other shows I've done, I've never done this one before, but I said, oh, I should like be able to sell 50% of my inventory. This is like, I sell that at the farmer's market that I have been doing for 5 years, right? Like I've been doing that a while. So I was comparing apples and oranges there, and I got some interesting comments. And and I knew they were saying them in confidence, and I wasn't supposed to hear them from people who were buying from. And I heard some really great things too. Don't get me wrong. I am the person that focuses on the negative, even though I know it's going to hurt me later. So a couple of the comments that came back were really hurtful, and I overheard them. That wasn't fun. So then instead of engaging fully with the customer, I was spending my energy thinking about maybe that person's right. And they, now that I've driven home, taken a shower, and I'm in a better place, I know that's probably not true. But at craft fairs, at yarn festivals, at anything like this, where you have made a product and put so much time, effort, and love into something, and then to have somebody like pick it apart, whew. And I had, so the incident, and I'll cut this and make it a short, just so everyone gets the full story of it, and it's not buried in my other thoughts and feelings. I had somebody pull apart one of my kits and take pictures, like pictures of links, of websites, of where they could go to find these free resources. That sucked ass. And I didn't really catch her. There were a lot of people, and so I didn't really catch her until I started hearing her iPhone shutter go off like a camera shutter. And I turned around and she had it all laid out and apart. She's like, it's such a good idea. And I'm like, yeah, see you next Tuesday. It is a good idea. And so I said something like, oh, yeah, well, it's all my idea and all my videos and stuff. And like, can you not, please? And she was like, well, I may not even do it anyway. It's just a really good idea. So I was not necessarily prepared for that, but I wasn't necessarily, I really let it get to me. I know that happens. And when I create things and I'll make a roommate, I know that those are people are taking pictures of them and they're going to remake them. That's fine. Like, or they see like a dye color that they like and they take a picture of that color so they can replicate it in some way, somehow. And that's fine. This felt different though, because it's like, that person's going to go and click those links and do exactly the same thing that somebody that bought the kit, the experience they would have and the knowledge they would get. So that was, I'm going to do things way differently next time on that. But that really took the one down on my sales. I was like, wow, the audacity of you, Karen. So yeah, I mean, they take a lot of time and energy to get all of your inventory together, especially when your house looks like what's going on here. I have inventory everywhere. So it forces you to be really motivated to do it. It forces you to put a lot of money into it. And you're talking to everyone. And so what gets to me is, I'll be nice to everyone. I think your story is awesome and I want to talk to you about it. And there were so many vendors and so much to see and so much to do that I had a lot of people looking in would tell me my yarn was really pretty, and that's cool. And then they'd say, I'll be back. I'm just doing a lap or whatever. And that's a telltale sign you're not going to see them again. So just a heads up, there are certain flag phrases that are like, it was a kind, or how they perceive, very kind way to say, oh, I'm just looking, but not, you know? And so when I did have people that were interested, they would make purchases, which is awesome. But I had to go through a lot of no's, basically, to get a yes. And so that can be really hard, especially if it's your first time doing something. So I am exhausted. I didn't eat well. I ate a lot of Taco Bell today because I was getting very nervous because I had covered my booth rental, which is always the goal, right? To break even. The goal is, the more we talk, you'll find out the goal is to make a lot of money. It's always the goal. But if things are going really slow, I'm like, oh, I'll just make the booth rental. So I did that, and I was, okay, this is okay. This is fine. It is 2 hours into the second day, and I just now covered booth rental, and I haven't touched gas and all those things. So the Taco Bell gift card got used, and it was delicious. So all in all, I am exhausted. I am so grateful. I hope like you don't come away from this like, wow, she's a Roby. Like, she was complaining the whole time about how people were awful to her. Not the case. I am telling you that because that is what my brain focuses on, because I'm a people pleaser, and I can really struggle with these, and just know you're not alone when you think of those things. And yeah, I think it's always a good experience, and I get to meet so many people, even other vendors, and that's really makes it worth it. And I'll be back next year. And every year is a learning experience, and I'm really tired. And if I don't talk to another human being for 3 or 4 days, that's fine. Um, yeah, so there's so much after a craft show, and tomorrow I'll film a video and probably release it sometime next week about, okay, now you've done this thing that you thought was going to be awesome and wonderful, and it has been awesome and wonderful. And so how do you break down how much you actually made? How do you inventory? We'll do that later. But if you are in craft show mode and you get done, you've loaded everything up, you've gone home, and just take the night off. I'm telling you, I am anxious to see how much money I made or didn't make, depending on Taco Bell and mileage, but tonight's not the night for that. Because here's the thing, I've done several of these where I have sold 0 products, and I knew there was one that I drove 4 hours one way to go to, and I didn't sell a damn thing. And so instead of taking the night off, enjoying myself, like feeling really good about the accomplishment of doing it and sitting there for 6, 8 hours a day and doing it for 2 days and like everything working, and that instead of enjoying it, I stewed the whole way home. I had 4 hours to stew about how I made no money and how awful it was. And then I got home and I calculated how much money I lost. And then instead of drinking juice out of a jug and playing video games, I got ticked. I went to bed crying. I woke up angry. I didn't inventory any of my stuff for weeks. And I just got really better about it. So even if you made a lot of money, clear your head, because you don't want to get cocky either. But give yourself the time and space to really appreciate that you got it done and you did it and you're safe and you're home and you're in your jammies before you start really digging into, well, was that a financial success? Because sometimes you won't see clearly and you'll miss things, especially because of fatigue. So just take the night off. All right, I said it was gonna be a short vlog, and that's a lie, because it turns out I can still talk after doing this for days. So if you were an introvert and you were doing these, I do not have an experience for you, and I'm very sorry. Later we can talk to Peyton, because he did an event for 4 hours today, and I think he's pretty wiped. So we can talk to him about it too, and how he does things. I know for a fact his stuff is still in the car, and he hasn't taken it out yet. So we'll do that tomorrow. But thank you for joining me, and I hope you have a great night, really, and take some time for yourself. Okay. Bye. Yeah.